case we have never met, I'm Michael Price, and I want to help you succeed in growing your business.
Hello, I'm Nancy, your co-host.
And I'm Michael Price, your host.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are cracking open a file that, quite frankly, usually just sits gathering dust on the shelf because it is dense, it's bureaucratic, and it's intimidating.
It really is.
But, and I want to be very clear about this right from the jump, this file is potentially worth thousands of dollars a month to you.
It is. And it's not just about the money, though the money is substantial.
No.
We are talking about a program that is arguably the most powerful tool in the entire Veterans Benefits arsenal, yet it is consistently the most misunderstood.
We're talking about the VR&E program.
Or the Veteran Readiness and Employment program.
Most people out there probably know it by the old name VOC Rehab. And I think when most of us hear VOC Rehab, we have a very specific image in our heads. Like we think of a program designed for a veteran who is completely incapacitated, someone who literally cannot work, and the VA is finding them something very basic to do just to pass the time.
Yeah, that's the stereotype.
But looking at the research we have today, that perception is not only wrong, it is incredibly expensive.
It is expensive because it causes veterans to self-select out of the program before they even try. They think, I'm not disabled enough for that, or I already have a job, so I obviously don't qualify. And by doing that, they are walking away from a benefit that pays a tax-free subsistence allowance, and this can range from around $800 to over $200 a month.
On top of their disability pay.
Exactly, completely on top of it.
That was the big aha moment for me in these sources. This isn't just about getting a job. It's about career strategy. It's about your longevity in the workforce. And honestly, it's about understanding the system better than the system understands itself.
Which is exactly the mission for this deep dive. We are going to deconstruct the VR&E program for you.
Yeah.
We need to decode the complex eligibility rules, specifically this 12-year window that causes so much anxiety.
Oh yeah, the window.
Right. We need to look at the workarounds that exist if you think you've missed the boat, and we are going to break down the math on how to maximize that monthly pay, because there is a massive trap door there that people fall into constantly.
I want to start right there with that trap door, because when you look at the documentation, there isn't just one way to get paid in this program. There are two.
Correct. There are two distinct pots of money for the subsistence allowance.
And choosing the wrong one means literally leaving money on the table.
Significant amounts of money. You have Pot A and you have Pot B. Pot A is the standard Chapter 31 subsistence allowance, and Pot B is the post-9/11 GI Bill rate, which we often see abbreviated in the paperwork as P911.
Okay, let's unpack Pot A first, the standard rate. This is kind of the default setting, right?
This is the baseline. If you enter the program and you don't take any specific action, or if you just don't qualify for the other pot, this is where you land. It acts as a safety net. The numbers are fixed by Congress, and they get adjusted for inflation. Based on the data we have in front of us, for a full-time participant with no dependents, the rate sits at approximately $812.84 per month.
Okay, so $800. I mean, it's not nothing. It buys groceries. It helps with the gas bill.
Exactly, and it scales up. If you have a family, the VA accounts for that. With one dependent, it jumps to around $1,008. With two dependents, you're looking at roughly $1,088. And for every dependent after that, say you have a really large family, you add another $86 and change per person.
So if I'm a veteran listening right now and I've got a spouse and two kids, I'm getting a decent stipend. It helps keep the lights on while I'm retraining.
It does. It serves its purpose as a subsistence allowance. It allows you to subsist. But here's the reality check.
Uh-huh.
In almost every single scenario, Pot B, that post-9/11 election, is the superior financial choice.
Because Pot B isn't a fixed flat rate across the entire country.
No, it's not. The post-9/11 rate is dynamic. It is calculated based on the basic allowance for housing, the BAH, for the specific zip code of the facility where you are doing your training.
That is a total game changer. If I'm training in San Francisco or New York, or even just near a major state university in a decent-sized city.
The BH rate for an E5 with dependents could be double, triple, or even quadruple that standard $800 rate. We are talking about the difference between an extra $800 a month and potentially an extra $3,000 a month tax-free.
That is massive. We're talking about mortgage-paying money versus grocery money. So logically, everyone wants Pot B. Why would anyone ever settle for Pot A?
Well, you have to be eligible for it, and this brings us to the most critical strategic point for any veteran who is currently using their education benefits. To elect that post 9/11 rate while using VR&E, you must have at least 1 day of unexpired post 9/11 GI Bill entitlement remaining.
Wait, just 1 day?
1 single day. If your balance reads 1 day, you can elect the BH rate for the entire duration of your VR&E program.
Are you serious?
Yes, that could be a 4-year degree. You get the higher rate for years, entirely based on that 1 single day of entitlement sitting in your account.
That almost seems like a glitch in the matrix, but it's actually just the rule.
It's the regulation, but here's where the tragedy happens. If you hit 0,
If I have 0 days left,
if you have used every single hour, if you burned your GI Bill down to 0 getting a degree 5 years ago, or if you're just finished a program and let the clock run out entirely, you are locked out. You are completely ineligible for the post 9/11 rate election. You default to the standard Chapter 31 rate.
oh man, that is brutal. It feels like a system designed to punish you for being efficient. If you use your benefits fully, you get less later.
It rewards strategy over efficiency. The expert advice we see repeated in these sources is very clear. The old saying is use it before you lose it. But the nuance here is use it, but save a sliver.
Save a sliver, I really love that. So if I'm a veteran right now and I'm finishing up a degree using my GI Bill, and I log in and see I have 1 month left,
Stop. Pay out of pocket for that last month if you have to. Take a break. Do whatever you need to do to preserve that entitlement, because that remaining balance is the golden key that unlocks the higher pay rate if you ever need VR&E in the future.
it's basically an insurance policy. You're banking that 1 day against a future need for retraining.
Precisely, you are keeping your options open.
Okay, now, let's say I've done that. I have my 1 day saved up. I apply for VR&E and I get in. Does the system automatically give me the higher rate? Like, does the computer just see he has a day and cut the bigger check?
Absolutely not, and this is another major friction point where people lose money. It is not automatic. You have to formally elect the GI Bill subsistence rate.
So I actually have to ask for it?
You have to affirmatively choose it. When you get into the program, you will be assigned a vocational rehabilitation counselor, a VRC. You need to verify with them that you are within your eligibility period, prove you have that day remaining, and explicitly sign the election form to get that P911 rate.
So the VRC isn't just going to look at my file and offer it up?
They might if they are particularly diligent, but you absolutely cannot rely on that. You are the project manager of your own rehabilitation. You need to go into that meeting saying, I have remaining post 9/11 entitlement and I want to officially elect the P911 subsistence rate. If you don't have that specific conversation, you might just default to the lower standard rate.
Which is a very expensive silence.
Exactly, it costs you thousands.
Okay, so we've secured the bag, so to speak. We know how the math works to get the maximum payment. Now, we have to figure out if we can even get in the door, because there is this 12-year window that seems to haunt the entire VR&E program.
It creates a lot of confusion, but looking at the regulations, it's actually a pretty binary system. You just need to know which group you fall into.
Let's break that down for the listener, Group A and Group B.
Group A is the post-2013 cohort. If you were discharged from active duty on or after January 1st, 2013, the 12-year window does not apply to you.
It's just gone.
It is entirely eliminated. You have no time limit whatsoever. You could apply for VR&E 25 years after your separation date.
That is incredible for the newer generation of veterans. It removes the pressure completely. But I assume the confusion and the panic really comes from Group B.
The pre-2013 crowd, yes. If you were discharged before January 1st, 2013, you are subject to a 12-year use it or lose it eligibility period.
Okay, but this is where the math gets really tricky. 12 years from when? Because if I got out in 2005, simple math says my window closed in 2017, I should be locked out forever.
You would think so, but the start date of that 12-year clock is variable, and this is the detail that saves so many people. The clock starts on the later of 2 dates. Date 1 is your date of separation. Date 2 is the date you received your first VA service-connected disability rating.
Oh, that is a huge distinction.
It's massive. Let's look at a real scenario. Say you separated in 2005. You try to transition. You work for a few years. Maybe you struggle with some health issues, but you don't file a VA claim immediately. Finally, you file, and you get your very first rating in 2010.
So my clock didn't start in 2005.
No, your 12-year clock started in 2010, which pushes your eligibility out to 2022.
Okay, but even in that example, we are in 2026 right now. 2022 has passed. So that veteran is still out of luck, right? The door is still slammed shut.
Not necessarily. This brings us to the third part of our mission today, the workaround, or using the VA's official terminology, the Serious Employment Handicap, the SEH.
SEH, it sounds intense. Serious Employment Handicap.
It sounds ominous, but in the context of VR&E eligibility, it is a golden ticket. An SEH determination acts as a complete waiver for the 12-year window. If your VRC determines you have a serious employment handicap, the time limit is irrelevant. They can extend your eligibility indefinitely.
So we really need to understand what this means, because I think a lot of veterans hear serious employment handicap and they think, well, I can drive a car, I can hold a conversation, I'm not seriously handicapped.
This is exactly the language barrier we talked about earlier. In the VA's dictionary, SEH does not mean you are totally incapacitated. It means that your service-connected disability significantly limits your ability to prepare for, obtain, or maintain suitable employment.
Prepare, obtain, or maintain, those are the three pillars.
Exactly. Can you get the training for a job? Can you actually get hired for the job? And crucially, can you keep the job without it destroying you physically or mentally?
And this all hinges on their definition of suitable employment.
That is the magic phrase. Suitable employment isn't just any job that happens to pay the bills. It is defined as stable employment that matches your aptitudes and interests, and this is the critical part, does not make your disability worse.
That is the key right there. Does not make your disability worse. So I'm a veteran with a rated back injury or maybe bad knees, and I'm working in construction or warehousing. I'm paying my bills, I'm employed, but every single day I come home in absolute agony.
Then the VA would likely argue that is not suitable employment, even though you are doing it, and even if you are good at it. If it is actively aggravating your service-connected condition, you have a handicap in maintaining that employment. It is unsustainable. You are essentially borrowing time from your own body.
So how do I prove that? Because I can't just walk into the VRC's office, sit down and say, trust me, my back hurts when I lift boxes.
I mean, you can, but you probably won't get the SEH approved. Documentation is king here. The sources we analyzed explicitly recommend a strategy involving very specific medical evidence. You need a doctor's note, but not a generic one.
Right, not just a prescription pad that says, please excuse John from heavy lifting.
No, it needs to connect the dots. The doctor needs to write a specific recommendation that directly links the pathology of your injury to the actual job function.
Give us an example of what that looks like. What should actually be written on that piece of paper?
A strong note would say something very deliberate, like patient's musculoskeletal condition is aggravated by labor-intensive work. I medically suggest avoiding this type of employment to prevent further deterioration of the condition.
Wow, that changes the conversation entirely.
It does. It moves it from a subjective complaint of, I don't like my job, to an objective medical necessity of, I cannot medically sustain this job. It gives the VRC the exact paper trail they need to justify checking the yes box on your SEH determination.
And that yes box is what opens the 12-year window right back up.
It unlocks everything. It tells the VA this veteran needs rehabilitation because their current situation is medically untenable. That is the literal definition of a serious employment handicap.
This leads right into the advice we saw in the source material: do not self-segregate.
It is a profound point. Veterans are often their own worst gatekeepers. They tell themselves no before the VA even gets a chance to look at their file. They think they aren't disabled enough. But the bar isn't can you walk. The bar is your job actively hurting you?
So let's assume we've navigated the money pots, we've navigated the timeline, we've got the SEH waiver, we are officially in the program. What happens next?
The outline mentions there are 5 different tracks, but we really want to focus on the ones that offer the most strategic value to you listening.
There are 5 tracks ranging from reemployment to independent living, but the sources highlight 3 that are most relevant to the learner persona we are talking to today.
Track 1 is the big one, long-term services. This is the career switcher track. This is what most people imagine VOC rehab to be. The purpose is for veterans who need to completely leave their current field because it's unsuitable and move to a brand new one.
And the mechanism here is retraining.
Yes, the VA pays for the schooling, the training programs, the certifications, whatever is required to get you from career A, which hurts you, to career B, which is suitable.
And this covers traditional college degrees?
Bachelor's degrees are very, very common on this track.
What about master's degrees? I know a lot of vets already have a bachelor's from their GI Bill and want to level up.
It's nuanced. You can't just get a master's because you want one or because it sounds prestigious on a resume. The VA is not in the business of funding vanity degrees. However, if a master's degree is strictly required to enter the specific suitable career goal you've agreed upon with your counselor, it absolutely can be covered.
So if I want to be a librarian or a specific type of mental health counselor, and the literal entry-level requirement in that industry is a master's,
Then the VA pays for the master's. It comes down to labor market necessity. You have to prove with data that you cannot get hired in that suitable field without that advanced degree.
that makes total sense and practical. Now let's talk about track 2, self-employment. This sounds like the entrepreneur track, but you're saying there's a catch here.
It is for entrepreneurs, but it's not just a generic small business loan program. It is often used specifically as an accommodation strategy,
Meaning, what exactly?
meaning the goal is still finding suitable employment. Sometimes a veteran's disabilities are so specific or so severe that traditional employment working for someone else is just impossible. Maybe you have severe PTSD and cannot be in a crowded office or deal with aggressive authority figures. Maybe you have physical limitations that require you to work from a recliner or bed 3 days a week.
So a regular 9-to-5 boss isn't going to tolerate that kind of schedule.
Exactly. So in that case, self-employment becomes the only viable way to achieve suitable employment. You create a custom work environment that accommodates your specific disability.
So it's not just pitching the VA like, hey, I have a cool business idea to sell t-shirts. It's that this business is the only way I can work around my disability.
Correct. The VRC has to validate that self-employment is a viable path. For you specifically, you need a rigorous business plan, you need to show financial viability, but fundamentally you need to show why working for yourself solves the serious employment handicap.
Fascinating. And then there is track 3, current skill set. How is this different from the other two?
This track is for veterans who already have the skills, they already have the degree, but they just can't catch a break finding a job that fits their physical or mental needs.
So they don't need to go back to school?
No, they don't need retraining. They need placement assistance. This track focuses heavily on resume writing, job hunting strategies, and workplace accommodations. It doesn't usually involve tuition payments or long-term training facilities. It's for the veteran who says, I'm qualified on paper. I just need help getting into the right room and getting the right ergonomic desk.
I want to circle back to track 1 for a second, the long-term services, because I think we get so stuck on the word college. We think 4 years, a campus, carrying a backpack, but the source material gives a case study that completely flips that assumption on its head.
The Automotive Dealership Institute, or ADI,
This is such a fascinating example to me. When I hear automotive dealership, I immediately think mechanics. I think turning wrenches on a concrete floor, which again, for a guy with a bad back, sounds like a terrible, terrible idea.
Exactly. If the goal is to save your back, becoming a mechanic is not the move, but that's not what this specific program is at all.
So what is the actual opportunity here?
ADI offers a program that trains veterans for finance and insurance manager roles. These are the people sitting in the nice air-conditioned offices at the dealership processing loans. It is a desk job. It is a management position.
So it perfectly fits the suitable employment definition. It removes the physical labor entirely.
It respects the physical limitations, but the really crazy part is the timeline.
It's 4 weeks long.
4 weeks, not 4 years. And VR&E accepts it as an approved training program.
And the return on investment, the numbers quoted in the source, were just staggering.
They are highly impressive. The source quotes a 90% placement rate within 90 days of graduation. And the income potential, they quote the average pay at over $200,000 a year.
200 grand.
With starting salaries often hovering right around $100,000.
That is life-changing money. And to be able to access that level of income with a 4-week investment of time, it really highlights the flexibility of the long-term track.
It illustrates that retraining doesn't always have to mean a long drawn-out slog through academia. It can be a surgical strike. You identify a high-value skill that accommodates your disability. You get the specific certification, and you get back into the workforce at a much higher level.
And the program actually helps you find the job too.
Nationwide placement. The veteran provides circles on a map, areas where they're willing to live and work, and the Institute actively works to place them in a dealership there.
It really is the perfect synthesis of everything we've talked about today. You take a veteran who is grinding their body down, you use the SEH workaround to get them into the program past the 12-year mark. You use the subsistence allowance to support them financially for the month of training, and you launch them into a 6-figure desk job.
That is the ultimate definition of rehabilitation.
Yeah.
It's not just fixing what's broken, it's building something significantly better.
But, and there is always a but with government programs, we have to talk about the gatekeepers.
The VRC.
The vocational rehabilitation counselor, we've mentioned them throughout the deep dive, but let's be real here. This entire system relies on a human being sitting across a desk from you or on a Zoom call deciding if your story is valid.
They hold all the keys. They determine if you have an SEH. They prove your career goal. They sign off on the re-election.
And humans are subjective.
Highly subjective. The source material shares a very telling personal anecdote about this. The speaker in the source actually applied for VR&E 3 separate times.
3 times?
Denied the first time, denied the second time.
Did his medical condition change between applications? Did his service record change?
No, the facts of the case were completely identical.
So what changed on the 3rd try?
The counselor, he simply got a different person reviewing his file, and for whatever reason, his story, his presentation, his documentation resonated with that 3rd counselor. They saw the SEH where the others didn't see it.
That is incredibly frustrating for a rules-based system, but also it's oddly hopeful.
It's a massive lesson in persistence. In the VR&E world, a no often just means no from this specific person on this specific day.
So the real strategy is resilience.
There's no limit on reapplying. You can appeal the decision, or you can simply reapply from scratch if you know you meet the criteria, if you have the doctor's note, if you have the solid evidence of a handicap, you just keep knocking on the door.
And preparation seems to be the ultimate differentiator, walking into that meeting knowing the exact language they use.
Absolutely. If you walk in and just say, hey, I want VR&E because I want to make more money or I want to go back to school, you will probably get denied. VR&E is strictly an employment program. It is not an education program.
You have to frame the narrative correctly.
You have to say, my current disability actively prevents me from maintaining my current employment. I'm at medical risk. I need this specific training to achieve suitable, stable employment that won't worsen my condition. When you speak that specific language, you make it incredibly easy for the VRC to say yes. You are handing them the exact justification they need for their own paperwork.
You're basically doing their job for them.
Exactly. You are managing the manager.
This has been an incredible unpacking of the system. I really feel like we've taken a dense, boring government manual and turned it into an actionable battle plan.
It's a complex system, but it's highly navigable if you just know where the waypoints are.
Let's recap the 3 pillars before we wrap up. What are the big takeaways for the listener today?
Pillar 1, check your post-901 balance. If you are currently studying, save that 1 day of entitlement. It is the absolute key to the higher monthly pay rate in VR&E.
1 day, lock it in. Don't let it hit 0.
Pillar 2, check your dates. Are you pre or post 2013? If you are pre 2013, do not assume you are timed out. Go find your first rating date. That is where your 12-year clock actually starts.
Check the paperwork. Dig up that original award letter from the VA.
In Pillar 3, do not accept a denial if you have a legitimate employment handicap. Get the medical documentation, get the specific doctor's note connecting your injury to your job, understand the VA's definition of suitable employment, and reapply.
Persistence pays off, literally.
It really does.
So leave us with one final thought, something for the listener to chew on as they turn this off and go about their day.
I would ask the listener to really audit their current work life. If the entire goal of VR&E is finding suitable employment that doesn't worsen a disability, how many veterans are currently grinding away at jobs that are slowly degrading their physical or mental health?
Because they think they just have to, or they think that's just what life is after service. You're supposed to hurt.
Or because they assume they aren't, quote-unquote, disabled enough for this program. They think, well, I can still walk, so I clearly can't use VR&E. But the bar isn't, can you walk? The bar is this job making you worse? I think the threshold for getting help is so much lower than most veterans realize if they just use the right definitions.
That is a very powerful thought. Don't wait until you're completely broken to ask for the repair kit.
Exactly. Use the tools available to you.
Thank you. And to you listening, go check your claim letters right now. Go check your GI Bill balance today. Don't leave these benefits unclaimed. We will catch you on the next deep dive.
Take care.
If you found this video helpful, please consider donating to helpallvets.org. Thank you.